Hello everybody and welcome back to another Pokemon Emerald video. Today I will be playing through the game with a Houndour. This one too is a somewhat forgotten Pokemon from the second generation. Not as much as Misdreavus, but I don't see it getting much love either. The rules are as follows: I can only use my starter in combat, I can't use items from the bag in battle, I can't raise my evasion in any way, and I can't use cheats or glitches. Not going to lie, I am somewhat worried about Houndour. It is a fire type in a region full of water Pokemons and earthquake spammers, so I fully expect to rack up a few losses. That's a problem for the future though, because the very early game it's not that bad. Our dog starts with Ember, which is a decent stab move, and is able to deal with most things in the first few fights. The only one who is a bit more annoying is May, since I gave her Mudkip, and given the type, Ember is not very effective against it. But since it does not have any water or ground moves yet, this is not a hard match. I even got a burn to reduce the tackle damage. For once, the typing actually complements the Pokemon. Houndour and the evolution are special attackers, and in this generation, both Fire and Dark are special types. This means that Flamethrower and Crunch will hurt quite a bit. The first major wall of the run is Roxanne. Her Pokémons keep using Rock Tomb on me, and it hurts a lot. I tried defeating her a couple of times at level 18, but that would have never worked. I tried again at 20, but I was still too weak, so in the end I had to grind for quite a while and attempt her again at 25. The main difference is that now I have Bite, which is not resisted by her Pokémons, and so it deals a lot more damage and is enough to one-shot her two Geodudes. Nosepass of course does not go down so easily and is still able to take away almost half of my HP, but with a bit of perseverance we can defeat it and earn the first badge of the region. Next up is the second encounter with May. This one should be significantly more scary since her starter now knows Water Gun, but since my level is through the roof, I can make a quick work of her team with a couple of bites. I skipped Brawly since Dark is not very effective and Fire is not great either because of Thick Fat. Instead, I can take on the two Team Aqua Grunts in Slateport. Today they were a bit easier than last time, but it still took a couple of turns to defeat them, since I don't really have any great moves yet. Once we KO their Pokémons and listen to Archie, we can take a bit of time to level up a few more times around the area to prepare for the third fight against our rival. This is where May is the most scary, since her starter evolved and now knows an even stronger move in Mudshot. At least I can be happy about it not one-shotting me, that could have been bad. A couple of bites later and her whole team is back in their Pokeballs, so we can proceed to the next town. Here we can find the casino where you can buy Flamethrower early, but I did not think I would need it, so I saved my money for other stuff. The fight against Watson is a bit tense, but since I still have my trusty fire move, I can defeat the Magneton before it has the opportunity to screw me over. The rest of the team is also kinda nice and does not go for anything crazy. I can heal off the one time I get paralyzed with the berry, and with that this gym badge is ours too. With it, I can use the move Rock Smash out of combat to reach new areas like Meteorfall Caves, where we meet the two teams arguing amongst themselves. One thing leads to the other, and before you know, we are on top of the volcano to stop Maxi. The fight against him is kinda scary. I am not worried about his lead, since I can ignore Intimidate, but his Camerapt knows rock and ground moves, both of whom can easily defeat my Pokémon. Fortunately, he does not use them this time, but I might not be so lucky in the next encounter. Up next is the Fire Gym. This one is going to be an easy one. While I may not be very tanky, I think I can leave an overhit or maybe two. I might have been a bit too cocky by not healing before it, but in the end I was not punished for it, so it's all good. I don't think her Camerapt has any ground moves, but I might be wrong about it since it only used Attract. Now that we have the Fire Gym badge, it's time to backtrack, and the first location we have to go to is the second gym. I was expecting to have better moves by now and sweep through Brawly with the flamethrower. Instead, I'll have to rely on the extra levels to be enough to supplement for my lack of firepower. While not perfect, the fight against Makuhita went fine, and now that we have this badge too, it's time to face our dead Norman. His team is quite impressive, and considering my low base stats, is no surprise that I got defeated a few times. I can't take them out fast enough before their attacks accumulate and eventually overwhelm me. In the successful attempt, I won only because I got lucky. For some reason, Slacking was focused on using Yawn on me, which is normally quite powerful, but since today I have the early bird ability that makes me wake up much faster, it was effectively 3 turns that he was giving me. Even with that, the fight was quite close, and if not for the last second flinch, I would have lost again. Now that we have Surf, it's time to go to the next section of the map, where we can find more Team Aqua grunts holding hostages. So of course we start a fight with their leader, and easily defeat her in a few attacks. Now that I learned Flamethrower, I am not so defenseless anymore, at least against the ones who don't resist it. After rescuing the scientist in the Weather Institute, we can resume the journey, but are immediately stopped again by May. It's raining, so fire moves are weaker, and her team kinda resists them too, so I can't really use them. Instead, I have to bite them a bit, and since I did not get lucky with the flinches, my HP got kinda low. Now that I am done with her, it's time to take on the next gym. Winona Rider, it's not too problematic. 2 of her Pokémons are weak to fire, and none of them are too powerful, except for Altaria, who is the first Earthquake user we find. The only thing that saved me is that Altaria does not have a whole lot of physical attack, so even though it uses a powerful super effective move, it barely does half of my HP. The other remaining Pokémons get cleaned up by some flames that will burn forever, and with that we are done with the 6th gym too. After walking to the next town over, we fight May for the last time, and unfortunately this might be the least interesting match against her. This time it's not raining, so my fire moves are good, and I learned Crunch too for more power against her starter. In the end, this was pretty much a sweep, with only Ludicolo being able to do anything to me. After saying farewell to the rival, we can climb up the nearby Pokemon Cemetery and get the Magma emblem from the lady at the top as usual. With it, I can enter Team Magma's hideout, where after defeating way too many grunts with the same 3 Pokemons, I can reach their leader. This time the fight against Maxi did not really go in my favor. His Camerupt finally learned Earthquake, and he is very happy to spam it against me over and over again. And guess what? It's a one-shot. I do have a way out of this, flinches from bite. After all, I just need one. Unfortunately, it does require a few losses before I can get it and defeat the Volcano Pokemon. Crobat is a bit annoying, with confusion and all, but he is unable to take me down. After stopping Maxi, we have to infiltrate the Team Aqua base, but we arrive too late and see Archie flee while we are stopped by his other Admiral. A couple of flamethrowers are more than enough to take care of his Pokemons, and so we open the way to the next gym fight. Tate and Liza worried me quite a bit. I have to focus on Claydol since it knows Earthquake, and I am sure it will use it, but he is quite tanky, so I was not sure if I could one-shot it. The stab comes in clutch and he goes down first turn. After that I am much safer, since I am Dark type, I am immune to Psychic, and they don't have many other attacking moves other than that. With the Psychic badge in hand, or whatever it is called, I can move on to the next fight in the building nearby. Thankfully this time we are joined by the late champion, so this fight was not too hard. Intimidate is totally useless in this case, since I only have special moves and Metang has a clear body. I recently learned, the run after this one, that their Camerupts know Earthquake, and now I am surprised that they don't use it more often. I guess their AI does not like to damage their partners, and that's why it is so rare. Or maybe because the Pokemon Company did not want to make the fight too hard for Steven. After all, Earthquake would deal a lot of damage to his Steel types. I might need to do a run with Camerupt soon, and see if it is even completable with that double weakness to water. That will be rough for sure. After knocking some sense into Maxi, we can get the Dive HM and use it to reach the seafloor cave where Kyogre is located. Here we find Archie, who wants to awaken the legendary, but to stop him we start a fight. I did not think this would be too hard, but a crit wing attack definitely challenged my expectations. Sharpedo almost finished me off, but even though I barely managed to hang on by a thread, I defeated Archie in the first attempt. From here you should know how the story goes. I have to go ask Rayquaza to stop the other 2 legendaries, since the weather generated from their abilities is making the climate a bit of a mess. In the meantime, could you do me a favor, scroll down a little and click the like, subscribe and bell buttons that would help the channel a lot, and it will take only a couple of seconds. Once the legendary situation has been sorted out, we can move on to the last gym. This one was a bit scary too, since Juan specializes in water types that Houndour is not a big fan of. I did have a plan B with the solar beam, but I would like to not use it since it takes quite a bit more time to set up, and I'm trying to save it for the league since I know that will be the hardest part of the run. Crunch does a lot of damage and is able to one-shot most of his Pokémons. This allows me to reach the last two with full HP. Here I used Sunny Day to lower their damage, and while it might not have been needed since they attacked me only once, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now that we have defeated all of the gym leaders and collected all of the HM, we can enter the Victory Road, where we meet Wally one last time. As usual, his team has some easy Pokémons and some hard ones. In particular, the thing I am not going to enjoy is the Altaria because of the usual earthquake. This time he was too busy setting up, so I defeated the Cloud Dragon before it could attack me and one-shot me with all those boosts. The rest of the team is much easier since they can't take a flamethrower very well, and with that we have defeated the last major obstacle before the league. At this point I was indecisive about starting it immediately or level up a lot, since I know this will be no easy task. In the end I tried it as I was, and the first few fights were not that bad. Sidney is first, and he can be a bit of a pain, but not that much. Flamethrower is special and can one-shot all of his Pokémons except for Kronaast. I do get hit by a pretty big surf that brings me low, but since I can finish it off the next turn and sweep to the rest of his team, I'll consider this a good success. The next member of the Elite Four is Pheobe. She should be a lot less dangerous since Crunch is super effective against most of her team. The only real question is whether or not her lead uses Curse on me. Given how well Dark moves have performed throughout the run, I was not shocked to see her first Dusclops go down in one hit, and then it was all downhill from here. I only had to switch to Flamethrower for the Sableye to make it a full sweep without getting hit. Glacia is the next challenger and she might cause me to reset. Her Glalis are not a problem, one fire move and they are done, but the Celios and the Walrein are much more challenging. Their typing already makes them neutral to fire, and their ability cuts my damage in half again. So for those guys I used Crunch instead. It worked mostly fine, but it was not enough to stop Walrein, so I had to gamble with Bite. I was lucky and I got a flinch, so I could finish it off the next turn with a Crunch. Once the big seal went down, the rest of the fight was a lot smoother. I think I still took a bit of damage from the hail every turn, but it was not enough to stop me. While the fights up until now were risky, Drake is what I was very worried about. His Pokémon have powerful physical moves that have been proven to shut down Houndour in its tracks in the past. I am mostly referring to Earthquake, but Rock Slide from Salamence will not be pleasant either. My strategy for this fight was just to bite and hope for the best, and somehow that actually worked. I got a flinch on Flygon, so that's one. Then Salamence missed, so that's two. and then the last two threats wanted to boost first, so I had enough time to chip them down. According to all laws of aviation, that should not have worked, but I can't deny the results, so I'll gladly move on to the last and by far most challenging fight in the run. So yeah, Wallace is a problem. His Pokémons are way too tanky for me to defeat in one or even two hits sometimes, and hoping for another bite miracle seems a bit too much to ask for. I attempted him quite a few times, but eventually gave up, left and leveled a bit more. Not sure why I did not go all the way to 100, but the game sure made me pay for it, because even at 96 this fight was hard. I ended up losing another handful of times with different strategies before settling for the Solar Beam way. Even with a higher level and solid strategy, this required some luck. Today I don't have any setup moves, so the only thing I have to do at the start is use Sunny Day in a somewhat safe manner and from there start shooting off solar beams. A couple of hydro pumps misses were just what I needed to set up the sun again and be ready for the second half of his team. I definitely could not have done it without those. Whiscash is not a problem, even though he is ground and water, but Gyarados is if it uses Earthquake. Thankfully I am faster than him, even after a Dragon Dance, so that was scary but not dangerous. And in the end, I can finish it all with one last Solar Beam, just as the sun fades away. Finally, after a lot of time and struggle, Houndour was able to get the win. It might not have had the most resets or time, but it was a challenge nonetheless. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and all of that YouTube stuff. If you have any comments, feedback, video ideas, or anything to say, write it down in the comments. I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!